Larry really just focused on pleasing his crowd. And that's what makes, forget that's what makes a good DJ. That's what makes a good artist, period. Like if you can play to your audience and you got the audience in the palm of your hand, you doing numbers. And that's what Larry Levan was able to do. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to day number 19 of the Black Music Month 30 series here on the Groove Line with your boy Chris Stevens. Hopefully, you all are doing well out there. It is Friday. Cheers to the freaking weekend, and we are going to party. And how are we going to party? We're going to talk about two DJs over the next 2 days that changed the culture. Also, this is part of our Pride celebration where we honor the LGBTQ contributions to Black music. And today we're going to talk about late great Larry Levan, born Lawrence Philpott on July 20th, 1954, died of heart disease on November 8th, 1992. So he only lived to be 38 years old. Golly. But in those 38 years, Larry Levan absolutely changed the way DJs mixed records, the way club life and club culture evolved. It's all because of Larry Levan and what he was able to create at the Paradise Garage in New York City. So, just a brief backstory on his life. He was the youngest of three children, the absolute youngest. Like his twin brother and twin sister were 18 years old when he came along. So he was like, Larry might have been an oops baby. But whatever the case, he ended up, being he was openly gay, and he had that in common with another New York City teenager at the time, kid named Francis Nichols Jr. You know him better as Frankie Knuckles. We'll talk more about Frankie tomorrow. That's foreshadowing. So these two were teenagers palling around New York City, hitting various clubs. They were active in the ballroom scene. They were stitching ball gowns and dresses together for the drag queens and the folks in the ball scene. And they ended up, falling into a group, a sort of scene where David Mancuso and Nicky Siano were redefining dance music in early 1970s New York. David Mancuso created The Loft, which was basically a nightclub in his house. And one of the biggest songs that he, sort of gave life to was Soul Makosa by Manu Dibango. And that's how Larry and Frankie got into the DJing side of things. And Paradise Garage was something that came to be in the later part of the 70s. And until it closed the doors in the fall of 1987, that was the place to party in New York City. Studio 54, of course, was more for the glitz and the glamour crowd. You'd have your Diana Rosses, you'd have your Michael Jacksons, you'd have your more famous people going to party at Studio 54. But the Paradise Garage apparently was where the working class people used to go get busy. Black people, Latinos, gay folks. In fact, the Paradise Garage folks struggled to keep it a gay exclusive nightclub because, straight women and straight men wanted to party too. But on Saturday nights, that was the gay only crowd. And apparently there were some brothers who were straight who would try to pull the Tu Wong Fu, the reverse bird cage, and say, oh no, child, I'm gay, honey. And they look, and the club owners were looking at them like, get out of here. We saw you in here with that girl on Thursday. So that's, hey, even gate crashers existed back in the late 70s and early 80s. Go figure. But yes, Larry Levan, he redefined dance music because he started to get the idea to remix a lot of records, like the Inner Life version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough, which of course is led by the legendary Jocelyn Brown, is a tour de force. The way he was able to extend Kenton Nix's original version of Tana Gardner's Heartbeat to 10 minutes, it's one of those records that you just don't want to stop. It is absolutely incredible the way he was able to stretch that thing on out. And, he was one of the first DJs to really start remixing other people's records. I mean, that's where the remix came from, damn it. The remix came from Larry Levan. If we keep it in a buck, he would use drum machines. He would use keyboards. He would, because he had connects with different musicians to play these different parts, and he would mix them together and play them in his nightclub sets at the Paradise Garage, and people would go absolutely bonkers. And apparently, he was one of the first DJs to really study the tempo of a room. Like, he would listen, he would look out and see who was dancing, who wasn't. He would find a way to connect with the audience through the music, which is what every good DJ nowadays does. But back then, DJing was still a fairly new endeavor. It's still one of the five elements of hip hop, even though you wouldn't call garage music hip hop. You would still, but I mean, you still call it dance music, absolutely. But Larry Levan was able to connect with his audiences in a way that made people break down the doors of the Paradise Garage. Like people would literally stand online. Like you see those nightclub scenes in the movies and the videos and all of that, where people are standing online just like, when is this going to open? When is this going to be my turn? I want to get in here and party. I want to get in here and do all of these things. And that's what the Paradise Garage literally was. It was literally everybody in New York City who wasn't considered, upper crust went to go party at the Paradise Garage. And just listening to the people who lived in that era, those not baby boomers, baby boomers, the younger side of the boomers and the Gen Xers, hearing them talk about, well, can you count Gen X? Yeah, because Gen X is from 65 to 77. And the Paradise Garage stayed open until 87. So yeah, you probably say, yeah, the elder Gen Xers and the youngest boomers, they all got together down at the Paradise Garage and kicked it. Apparently, the doors would open at like 11, they'd close at 6, and the party would still be going. Like imagine walking by a garage, because that's why they called it the Paradise Garage, because it was a rented out garage. And you hear music just banging off the wall. You may hear people, whooping it up or whatever, and you're like, I'm going to work and these people still partying. Okay, let me mind my business. I ain't in the in crowd. Let me go ahead on my business. But that's what it was. That's what it was. That's what the Paradise Garage was. And Larry was meticulous with the sound systems. Like he firmly believed that your club is only as good as your sound system. Your club culture is only as good as your sound system. And he just had this thing tuned to a way that many other DJs, including his friend Frankie Knuckles, like I said, we'll talk about that Frankie tomorrow, just copied. Like was able to mix in different instruments, focus on certain lyrics and different things of that nature, because music back then really had a meaning. And Frankie and Larry really just focused on pleasing his crowd. And that's what makes, forget that's what makes a good DJ. That's what makes a good artist, period. Like if you can play to your audience and you got the audience in the palm of your hand, you doing numbers. And that's what Larry Levan was able to do. Unfortunately, when you are the maestro, when you are the person that everybody kind of sort of looks to get the party going, and you're like these folks God in some respects, you sort of get a God complex. And Larry, apparently his drug thing was really out of control. Like he would leave the booth, go get smacked, come back. Sometimes he'd be in a stupor, but then he would wake up and then play the most incredible 15 minutes possible. And everybody left the Paradise Garage thinking, damn, Larry Levan is great. That's the mark of a dude who, knew charisma, knew he had charisma, who knew he had talent, who knew he had skill, had a God-given gift to make people move on the dance floor, make them feel things. And that's where, a lot of the stuff, that makes him a legend also sort of confuses a lot of people, because unfortunately the co-owner of the Paradise Garage was dying of AIDS in 1987. Again, we talked about this with Melvin Lindsay. AIDS took a lot of gay men out in the 80s and the 90s and the aughts. Like people really didn't start living comfortably with AIDS until like probably in the last 15, 20 years. But, Larry seeing all of his friends die of AIDS, his business partner dying of AIDS, he just sort of leaned into this self-destructive tendency of, man, I'm just going to get high until I can't get high no more. And when you probably have a heart condition that predates your drug use is going to exacerbate it. And he sort of floated around for a few years after Paradise Garage closed in 87. He made a bit of a comeback in 91 and 92, but he knew he was sick. He knew he wasn't doing well. He would go, he'd Apparently he told his mom he lived a good life. He told his friend Frankie, Knuckles, he was proud of him, and hopefully that Frankie followed him in what not to do when you blow up and different things of that nature. And of course, Larry Levan died of heart disease on November 8th, 1992, at the age of 38. So that's a short life. And that's why people have taken to calling him the Hendrix of DJing and dance music. And I think it's pretty damn accurate because just like I said, go listen to the 10-minute version of Heartbeat. It's going to take you another place. The longer version of Inner Life's version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough is just like it goes places. All the remixes he did for Gwen Guthrie's records. I mean, there ain't nothing going on, but the Rent one is like his last true classic, the last true Larry Levan remix that had people going crazy in 86, 87, 88, and so on. So just when you think of pioneers, and I mean, granted, a DJ is not technically an artist, but the way a lot of DJs are able to mix records and get a party going, you still have to be an entertainer in some respects. An artist entertain. And Larry Levan was absolutely an artist, what he was able to do for those 10 years plus at the Paradise Garage in New York City. And every DJ, I don't care which one you talk to, I don't care if it's your more famous people like Jazzy Jeff, D Nice, Premier. I don't care if it's folks, on the middle spectrum, guys, people that get booked regularly, but they're not like, yeah. Larry Levan's one of them ones, man. He probably is the one. The only one that may compare is his friend Frankie Knuckles. And like I said, we'll talk about him tomorrow. But that's going to do it for day number 19 of the Black Music Month 30 series here on the Groove Line. Greatly appreciate you wonderful people for tuning in. Contact information will be in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe. Tap that notification bell so you're notified of all new videos that drop on this channel. And don't forget to like and comment on these videos. As you know by now, your boy talks back in the comments. So thank you guys for riding with me on the Groove Line. And until the next time we ride, may you find the groove or may the groove find you.